Hi YouTube, it's Stacie, and this is my first cooking video that I'm making for y'all. And like I said, as promised, I'm about to make you my favorite Jamaican dish, well, one of my favorites, and that is ackee saltfish. I remember when I first seen this meal cooked. My God, I'm about to tell my age, but it was some 37 years ago when I had met my son's aunt, Makita, and they were the new family that moved to the block, and they were a Jamaican family, obviously, and her mother, Janice, or Miss Janice, or Granny Janny, she would, I don't know how she did it, but she would make these elaborate meals for her huge family. Like there were, I want to say 5 of them, but the family kept growing. Anyhow, one day she's making saltfish, and it smells familiar because, you know, my grandmother makes saltfish, so I'm thinking it's the same. And then she pulls out a can of ackees, to which I thought I thought were canned scrambled eggs. Yes, I thought ackee was canned scrambled eggs, and so I thought when I went to attempt to make it that I boiled the saltfish, and then all of a sudden I'm finding myself taking egg whites and scrambling, sorry, not egg whites, taking the yolk and scrambling it up and being like, why doesn't it look the same? Anyway, come to find out it wasn't eggs. It's actually this beautiful fruit that grows in the beautiful country of Jamaica. So that's my little backstory as to how I was introduced to it and who introduced me to ackee and saltfish. And I'm forever grateful for Janice and for her showing me and allowing me to be in that kitchen and hanging out. And you know, even though she's had many mouths to feed, she was never opposed to feeding me and my greedy self. So I'm gonna get to chopping and get started with this recipe. And yeah, I hope you enjoy, because I know tonight for dinner I am going to be well fed. Here are the ingredients that I'll be using. They'll be listed in the description box below. And we're gonna get right into it, starting with cleaning our saltfish. Now, saltfish comes packaged very, very salty. You can even see the salt. It's also grainy, obviously, to preserve it. So I'm making sure that I get most of it off. And then I'm going to put it in a pot of boiling water, which is already on the stove boiling and ready to receive the cleaned saltfish. So I set it aside so I can get started with my green banana, aka plantain, and I'm going to cut those up into some nice chunks, slit it down the back, and stick it into a pot of boiling hot water as well. Not the same as the saltfish water, but you catch my drift. So I'm popping it in there real quickly so that I can get to chopping all the other vegetables that I will be using. So I'm just gonna get set up, and before I get to chopping, I'm gonna add the clean saltfish to the pot of water. So with the saltfish boiling process, what I do is I boil it for about 30 minutes. So 15 minutes would be for the first boil. Then I strain it to get rid of the salt, because what you're really trying to do is to remove the excess salt that is on it. And then I will add fresh water. I usually keep some hot water on the side to put into that, which will be in my kettle. I'll put it into the pot so that way I don't have to wait for it to get hot again, and then turn on the heat and keep it going for another 15. And we got some garlic here, chopping it up with my awkward fingers. It is what it is. You get those finely minced, and make sure that you mince it fine enough. I mean, it's up to you if you want to have thick pieces, but I prefer to have, you know, them somewhat lost in the sauce, so to speak. And I believe I used about 5 or 6 cloves of garlic in there. And then now we're gonna get to the onions. Now initially I thought 1 onion would be fine, but my onions were pretty small, so I went in after this one and added a half of another small onion. And then I just, you know, julienne them and cut them as fine as possible. Not too fine, but I like a lot of onions in my saltfish and ackee. I find that it gives a lot of flavor, that and the garlic. And also with regards to the peppers, honestly, use whatever ones you want. I like mine to be colorful. Unfortunately, I didn't put in a green pepper this time, but sometimes I do put the red, yellow, and green, and sometimes that's done to just, you know, pay tribute to Jamaica. There goes the yellow pepper. I'm gonna get that core out, and we're gonna chop, and we're just gonna get into it. And this is what I love most about cooking too. One of the aspects about cooking is the preparation. I love doing the prep, which is why when I found these beautiful silver bowls at IKEA, I had to pick them up. I had to stop myself also from buying several sets because they're fun, and it also makes me feel like I'm a professional chef. You know, you kind of want to set the tone and the mood for when you're cooking and just the vibe. I did have some music playing in the background, but I didn't want YouTube to take this video down, so I just stuck with doing this voiceover. So I opened the can of Ackees and I'm rinsing it off with some cool water just to get rid of the brine. And now I'm going in with the green onion. I keep the tips. Usually what I do is I put them in about 1/2 inch of water, and I grow at home. So I tend to also buy a lot of stalks of green onions and cut the tips off and set those aside to start growing. And it's amazing. It takes about a week for it to just come back to the size that you bought it. So now I'm getting into cutting this pepper, and I have these 2 bowls here because one of them is for the rice and peas, which will have the thyme, the green onion, the hot pepper, and the other one is pretty much the same, but what's included in that bowl is the garlic. So I'm checking on the plantains, which are cooking nicely, and I'm checking on the saltfish, seeing how tender it is. It still has to cook a little bit more, which is fine, but it's always good to check as you go along. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more of, I wanna say, y'all are so big on these measurements, but I learned eyeballing it. So if you can eyeball with me, we're good. If not, for those who don't know how to eyeball and need precise measurements, I use about half a teaspoon of this. Not even. I use like the tip of the teaspoon, just a little pinch. As my granny would say, just a pinch more, Stacie, just a pinch more. So I added a pinch more. So like I said, I just added a little pinch more of that fish spice to the water. And now I'm adding, I'm getting ready to start my rice. And this is my second batch of rice. I'll explain further along in this video. But basically what I'm doing at this point is I'm adding the butter and I'm getting that melted down. And I go ahead and I add 3 heaping tablespoons of brown sugar. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to caramelize the brown sugar in order to give my rice some color and also some added flavor. And I allowed for this to record a little bit longer so that you can see how dark I got it. You don't want to make caramel, so you have to constantly stir it and keep an eye on it so that it doesn't get too dark, because it'll go quick, I promise you. And I'm cooking this at a fairly high heat and keeping a close watch on it. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm ready, feel that it's ready, and then I add the coconut milk to it, stirring it in. And once I add the coconut milk, I will proceed with adding the thyme and the garlic, the green onion, the entire Scotch bonnet pepper, and the red kidney beans. I'm putting some water in there just to rinse out any excess beans that I had in there. And so like I said, so it's the red kidney beans, the green onions, the thyme, the Scotch bonnet pepper, and your onion and your garlic. So from my batch of the onions that I had cut earlier, I took a few of them and I diced them up. Now I'm using 1 beef stock cube. I thought I would need 2, but I only used 1, and I added that to it. You can go ahead and put chicken or vegetable if you like. That's entirely up to you. Then I'm adding my favorite Haitian spice. I want to say 2 tablespoons of it, and I love that spice so much. I have it sent to me from Montreal. And then I'm going with my Caribbean spice, which is really literally, quite literally called Caribbean spice. And then my pimento seeds. I'm gonna give that a good quick stir and then cover it and let it boil. I want to say I let it boil for a good 15 minutes. And I just wanted that to happen so that the flavors can come in and that the kidney beans could get a nice cook on it, even though they were from the can. Now adding my freshly cleaned rice, which I cleaned prior to adding, and then I'm taking some of that boiling water that I always have set aside to clear up any rice residue that might be left behind, and adding that to the pot and give that a nice good stir. It smells so good already. Like, it smells so good. I know I must drive my neighbors crazy with the smells that come out of my unit. So now we got this pan heated up and ready to get our saltfish and ackee done. I added some oil to the pan, and I'm gonna start with the garlic and half of a Scotch bonnet pepper. I took the seeds out, but I love my food to have a kick, so honestly it's up to your discretion. You can keep it whole if you'd like to and take it out when ready, but I wanted a little heat, so I cut mine in half and added that to it. And I'll give that a quick stir. Basically what I'm trying to do is to get the garlic to brown just a little bit before adding in the onions. Not too much, but as you'll see, I sped up the video. It's going pretty quickly, but you'll notice when you're cooking that it'll start to brown fairly quickly. Let me get our onions in there. I love being hands-on with my meals. It's just so therapeutic. I love cooking, honestly, I really do. So now you want to combine all the ingredients that you put in, fry it up, get it good. I'm going to add the peppers after I add the saltfish, because I don't want them to get too soggy too quick, because they tend to get soggy. And so I added my pimento seeds and some black pepper. And one of the key things that I do is I always taste as I go along. Like, I'm constantly tasting and seeing what it needs. So even though I'm providing you with measurements and stuff like that, it's always good to taste your food as you go along. I believe Gordon Ramsay says it best on Hell's Kitchen. Love that show. You know, did you taste it? Did you taste it? And so you have to taste as you go along. It's important. You need to know what's going on, what's missing, and what needs to be added. So now I'm adding the saltfish that I had broken down. I let it cool for a bit, and then I broke it down with my hands. And I'm gonna just combine all of it together. It's starting to look real good, and it's starting to smell real good. Just the garlic and the thyme with the onions alone is so aromatic. I'm just add the rest of the oil to there, because you know the saltfish tends to suck it all up real quickly, and want to get a nice fry on it, not too much. And here we have me adding some crushed chili peppers, and that would be a teaspoon of that. And then I'm adding another teaspoon of garlic powder, actually, yeah, granulated garlic powder. And I give that a stir. And then after we do this, we're gonna go ahead and add a little bit more of the fish seasoning. Now I bought this fish seasoning from the Caribbean store at Kensington Market, which I love. Like, I can spend the day in there just for the ambiance alone, and you know, the conversations, and it kind of just takes you back to like a Caribbean island, and it's just amazing. And anyhow, I digress. So I went and added the red and yellow peppers, give that a nice stir. And what I like to do is I like to take some water and add it to my saltfish while it's cooking. Me and my black pepper, here I go. I did taste it and realize it needed a little bit more, but I do add some water to it just so that it can, I don't want to say boil down, but I like for it to just get a nice sauce to it, not too saucy. Everybody has their own way of making this. This is my interpretation of ackee and saltfish. So this is how it will be done if I were to prepare it for you in my home. So now that I am finished with the frying of the vegetables and saltfish, we're gonna go ahead and add the ackee. Now, ackee is quite delicate. You don't wanna go in there and start mixing it like crazily. I'm folding it in specifically because I want to keep the shape. Now, a quick note about the ackee, you can just rinse it off and then, you know, add it to your ackee and saltfish, but I was taught to boil the ackee for a good, I want to say 7 to 10 minutes, and then setting it aside and adding it. One, I noticed that it keeps the shape, and two, it shortens the time, cooking time for when you're combining it with the saltfish itself and the peppers and so on and so forth. So you just fold that in, get that cooking. Granted, it's gonna break down eventually as you're cooking along and as it cooks away when you leave it and set it aside to do what it does, all that magic unfolding. Once again, tasting as I go and realizing that it might need a little bit more black pepper in there. But I mean, like I said, taste as you go and also clean as you go, okay? A little bit more fish seasoning. I finished it. I didn't really have a full packet left. I used what I had left. I didn't want to go ahead and open the new one that I had. Didn't make any sense. Ooh, if y'all could just smell how it smells in here. Life is good. Life is good. So now we're back to checking in on our rice, which, Lord of mercy, when I tell you it smells nice up in here, it smells nice up in here. Rice is looking good. Saltfish is looking good. Time to taste. I'm excited. That's good. It is done. Like, done. Oh my gosh. One, I messed up the rice. Had to halt filming, head to the store, pick up the can of beans and some more coconut milk. But all in all, this process has been fun. What I love about cooking is that, you know, I'm not a baker, but I'm gonna learn how to bake. But with cooking, I feel like you can just be as creative as you wanna be and get these flavor profiles just going. And that's what this is doing. It's got the flavor profiles that I've been craving for and missing. All that I'm waiting for to be done is the rice, and then I'm gonna fix up a plate. Wait, you forgot something. Plantain. We forgot to make the fried plantain. So I had boiled some and I had wanted to fry some, so I just got some done real quickly, because what would a plate of saltfish and ackee be like without the plantains? Rice is looking good. I went back in to take out the thyme sticks and to take out the pepper, because, you know, my son always says, "Mommy, that pepper go bust," you know. So I took the pepper out before it bursts, meaning splitting apart and making it hotter than I intend for it to be. Once again, there she goes tasting. Final step is to add some foil cover, let it steam down, and then you're good to go. I can't wait to dig in. I hope you get to enjoy and try this recipe at home. I'm just gonna just dig in.